Hi, I'm Christy Marchese, and this is Have You Seen My Film, a Kinema podcast where we talk to filmmakers and industry leaders on what's working in filmmaking, marketing, and distribution. Today, you'll hear from Brooklyn-based writer, director, and producer Talia Rake. Her short film, The Captive, has been on the film festival circuit, and she's currently in production on the indie TV series Too Romantic. But I first connected with Talia on Instagram, where she's steadily been building a following by sharing the ins and outs of her filmmaker journey with hundreds of thousands of people. And by doing so, she's raised money for her productions, staffed her crews, and held in-person gatherings of hundreds of creatives. So how is she doing that? And why? And should you? Let's find out. And we are here with a filmmaker, Talia Rake. Hi, Talia. Thank you for being here.
How's it going? Thanks for having me.
Good. First of all, love your shirt.
Oh, why, thank you.
Now, if anybody's watching the podcast, I have worn Talia's shirt before because it is from her company, Heavy Shovel Productions. So you guys have good swag.
Thank you. Our designer, Mike DeHaan from We Are Done, designed them for us. If I wasn't totally settled in here right now, I'd show off the back.
The back is very cool.
They are fabulous. And we are going to be launching some more swag as we start to the film festival circuit. So I'm excited.
Clearly, I love film festival swag. I'm wearing my Sundance shirt.
Looking good.
Thank you so much. Likewise. And you had a great event at Sundance, which we're going to get to in a second. But first, tell us a bit about yourself. For people listening, I think I stalked Talia. I think I stalked you on Instagram because you started coming up in my For You page. And then I started following your journey and I'm like, do I just reach out like a stalker? So tell us a little bit about yourself, like as a filmmaker and creator.
Well, I'll say I fully stalked you back because I remember when you followed my page, I was like, oh my goodness, who is this? I immediately went and I went on my personal account, followed you back. And I think I messaged you being like, how do we get in touch? You seem so cool. Let's chat. And you
I was like, oh my God.
So delightful. So it's been perfect.
Likewise.
So I guess the year now is 2026, but everything really started for me in 2020. So I thought I was going to go work in theater. I thought I was going to have a very different life than the life that I have now. I grew up in LA around the film and TV industry, but I was like, excuse me, theater is the finest arts. I will not do any of this. And I was that theater kid and I did all the internships. And then the pandemic happened and I had a job lined up at Manhattan Theater Club, and I was so set to go be a theater producer. And I had committed to them for 2 years. But then I got furloughed. And so the world changed. And honestly, it's such a huge blessing because where I am now is because of that kind of shift in time. And so during the pandemic, I started working for a rapid response media production company.
What the heck is a rapid response media production company?
Exactly. I think there's only been one, and I actually don't think they exist anymore. But their premise was that they did things really fast for a lot of money. And it was great for a young buck like me during the pandemic who was working from home. And it was awesome. And I had no idea what I was doing. But they would get all their friends who had live events that then went virtual and needed support during the pandemic. And so I got brought on to help produce all these things and started posting on Instagram, on my own Instagram, being like, do I know any editors? And friends of friends during the pandemic would send my story to people. And these editors would then come and work for this production company. And it was awesome. And in 2021, I moved to New York. And I was like, great, I'm still going to go back to theater. But it happened to be that the production company was there as well. And so we started to do live production. And I still had, to be fair, I PA'd. I was a production assistant since I was 14 years old. I knew what was up.
You know a little bit about what you were doing.
Yeah, I knew a little bit about what I was doing. I ran a hell of a student theater production in college. So I ran a tight ship. And student theater is very similar to indie film. And there's a whole other conversation we can have around that. But once things opened up, I started posting online more and hiring people who would be recommendations. And so we then would go off and we would make these awesome day rates working for this production company and shoot short films on the side. And it was this fun, almost Robin Hood style-esque way of indie film in New York in 2021, in which production was just starting up again and things felt so new and people were craving community and people were craving work and were really just kind of down to cloud. And so once my Instagram stories started becoming a little bit more popular and I moved away from this production company, I realized that people were just craving a new way to find work and people were craving a new way to connect with each other and people were really curious about what that could be. I also found that I had mentors who were 25, 30 years older than I was, but I didn't have anyone a few years ahead of me that I could look to, or I didn't have any place in which people felt like they actually had up-to-date resources for what production looked like in this post-pandemic world. And so that's where I started posting online, being like, hey, I'm an indie filmmaker. What the hell is this? What are we up to? What are we doing? Let's do it all together. So that's kind of how it came to me.
This makes total sense. I did not know the whole journey. And somehow, algorithms, I hate them more than I love them. However, I have found that sometimes I get presented with great creators and great content. And that's how I found you. And I got drawn into how you were kind of showing the productions that what are you working on? You're working on Too Romantic?
Too Romantic was my big pilot. Yeah, my TV show.
Okay, cool. And as you were like hiring for it and you were talking about day rates, it felt like a very communal filmmaking, like online communal filmmaking. And so I'm curious, so like, did you, for your indie TV short, Too Romantic, or indie TV series, did you staff from Instagram? Like what happened as you were posting videos in the making of that series, which I think you're still working on? How did that come together through Instagram? What happened from your videos?
So my goal in doing so was that I was able to bring people in on the process. If you scroll all the way back onto my page, you will see from the very beginning of me having the idea being like, I wrote the script. It was supposed to be a short film, but now it's a pilot. I guess I'm going to make a pilot, and here's why I'm making the pilot. And then I would go into bring you in on my casting process, bring you in on my crew calls. And my goal was, one, here's how you do it. Like, here's a way to make something happen. Come follow along. And if you're wondering how to set something up, here's a version to do so. And then the other way was actually to build community and to find community through hiring people. And so a lot of my recommendations, I definitely hired a few people directly from In Search of Calls. I love an In Search of Call, meaning like you'll post your story ISO and it will come on and you'll say who you're hiring and then people flood your DMs. It's a little overwhelming, but I found some amazing people that way who became on our crew. I found my casting director. No, that's actually not true. But I found a lot of amazing people through that. I hired most of our production assistants that way. And we were also able to bring on a lot of I call it like a teaching hospital. And so we were able to have a lot of people who are coming on to kind of mentor. And so not necessarily for Too Romantic, but for other short films, we'll bring on a lot of folks who want to shadow or help in other departments to be able to have some first-time opportunities.
Yep, that makes sense. You have another, was it called The Captives? You had a short film that was on the festival circuit for a while. I think looking back at your kind of portfolio, you also do music videos. So I guess what does a day look like right now? Like, are you focused just on the indie series? Are you focusing on shorts? What are you working on?
Yeah, so it's interesting. When I started my production company, I was like, amazing. I'm going to be a film producer.
And your production company is?
Heavy Shovel Productions.
Cool.
Yeah. Which is a pun on Light Rake, which is my last name.
I thought that was pretty cheeky. That was good. Once I figured that out, I'm like, oh, that's pretty good.
Thank you. I feel like this podcast might reveal to people who have been working with me for years that is the name. A lot of people don't know and don't put it together.
Really?
So I thought I was going to be a theater producer way back when. I then was like, no, not theater. I'm going to be a film producer. And then slowly I realized that I'm an organized person, but the thing that I love is really directing, and I love creating the story, and so I love writing. And though I have a skill for producing, it's not the thing that I want to be doing. And so Heavy Shovel Productions has become so much more. It's become our production company, and it's also become a vessel for community events, which we'll talk about. But my day-to-day is really split between a few things. One, it's the Heavy Shovel day-to-day. And so we are doing an event called Build a Short, in which we reverse engineered a short film. So we have 2 productions, one in LA, one in New York, going up in May. And that was fabulous because people submitted scripts from all over the world. We narrowed it down to 3 in each city. We held an event where we voted on which one you wanted to produce, and now we're producing those. And so our goal was to work within our community for that one. So I'm figuring out what it means to bring those 2 short films to production. I throw these big dig events that we'll talk about. And then I'm also thinking about what me as a writer director, what I need to focus on in order to push my career forward. And for me, the thing that's really important is to continue to work both outside as well as inside the system. Because I think that, especially being a product of the pandemic, there is an old guard and there is a new guard, and you need to be simultaneously working in both in order to push your career forward as much as possible. And so that could look like setting coffee meetings with people that I'm looking up to. I'm going to LA next week and I'm trying to get as many showrunner meetings as possible. And it also means writing my own indie feature, figuring out how to make it for as low as possible, because I think the feature is the new short film. And so your second feature is actually going to be the one that's going to break you into places. And so for me, I'm trying to get that first feature done. And then also new guard of like posting online, building with my community, getting coffee with people who ask me to help them. And so it's all this kind of like symbiotic relationship of how do I push my career forward? How do I build community? And how do I pull people up?
I think you articulate that like beautifully, because one of the questions I had for you is we, get exactly this with the two different types of guards, or like I called it the new guard in the social space. It's asking filmmakers a lot. Like, so not only you have to creatively pull together your own project, you have to still understand how the old guard works, but participate in the new. And now when it comes to distribution, if you don't get the offers, if you fully independently finance your film and you take it to market, people aren't buying at the festivals in a major way as they used to be. Now you're looking at becoming your own distributor. We work in this a lot at Kinema, but it's a lot to take on. And so one of the solutions has been like, okay, can you build a community along the way? Or can you build a following? And what does that look like? And you seem to be doing that naturally, while taking into consideration you have to still kind of, there's some old rules to play by, but also like you're building the new ones. And so I guess from your perspective, are you seeing other filmmakers do this as well? Or are you seeing, before we get to the in-person communities, are you seeing these kind of online spaces between filmmakers and creatives kind of fostering? And how would you describe it? Is it usually around a single film, like I'm going to build a following for this film? Or does it have to be much more organic and it's just participating in the community?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. And I think I see it in so many different ways. I'll also say a big thing for, what do they call it for, if you're a founder, you want to be creating in public. What's that?
I have no idea. What is it?
There's like, it's like if you're a tech founder, you want to be like, I'm so butchering it. It's like creating out loud or something like that, where people now don't want to follow the product, they want to follow the person. And so they want to know what you're up to, what you're doing. And I think what's interesting is that, yes, I got a lot of crew for Too Romantic from posting. I got a lot of people to come in, but really I actually financed my whole pilot, which was a good chunk of change, by just saying out loud that I was financing. I was really expecting to have to do like a Seed and Spark or some sort of crowdfunding.
Yeah.
But I didn't have to do any crowdfunding. I posted online saying, do you want to finance my film? Do you remember that sound that was going around that was like, I'm looking for a man in finance?
Finance.
6'5".
Yes.
Okay.
Blue eyes.
Literally, I posted that video and I said, does this person want to fund my film? And someone responded and we met up in person when I was in Paris for the Olympics. They happened to be there as well. So random. And then this person came on as associate producer of Too Romantic.
So and that's just because you put it out there. You tapped into a little cultural trend. So probably got some pickup online. So you tapped into that. But like, if you hadn't been talking about your creative process out loud, probably wouldn't have happened.
No, not at all. And like, I posted on LinkedIn being like, I'm looking for financing. I posted a lot. It always was, it wasn't I'm crowdfunding. It's I'm looking for an executive producer. I'm looking for someone who wants to come and support. I'm looking for someone who wants to be a part of this journey with me. And I got an email one day from another one of our amazing executive producers. And she was like, hey, I'm a real person. I'm sure you get this all the time, but like, I've been following you and like, let's chat. I'm real. And like, I want to get involved. And it took me like 3 different reads of the email. I was chatting with my other producers. They had an initial meeting and we Zoomed with her, and she's fabulous and awesome. And she's coming to like all of our film festivals and was on set. And she's like a real producer. She's a total real producer who came from the internet world.
So that's a perfect example of like what you're saying, old guard, new guard. So she's like she's been a producer for a while, but she found you through new means. So,
yeah, or well, she's someone who was looking to get involved, didn't know how to get involved, and then because of the internet, this was her way of getting involved.
Got it. Fascinating. So let's talk about the in-person stuff, because we've been queuing it up. And I've participated in one of your in-person events. I wasn't able to do the Sundance one. So tell us about the Big Dig.
A shovel pun. Our Big Dig is a filmmaker matchmaking event where people are matched for optimal creative collaboration. And so how it works is that you go in, you fill out a form saying who you are and who you want to talk to. I then go in and I literally stalk everyone. You have to give me links to your past work. You have to tell me more about yourself. I'm looking at your social medias. I'm looking at your websites. And I have a rubric of what we're looking for. And then I've brought on my brother who works in tech, and he created a custom algorithm for us. And our algorithm matches you off of a few different things. Like if you are looking for someone who is looking for the same things that you are, then you become a match. If you are looking for something sort of rare, like an intimacy coordinator, which is harder to come by, you get matched in that way. And so how it works is you get matched for optimal creative collaborations. The idea is that you leave this networking event having 3 fabulous matches that were individually assigned to you and also intentionally assigned to you. Because my issue, I'm an outgoing gal, but I'm actually quite introverted. And so I would go to these networking events and I kept talking to people's plus ones. And no offense to a plus one, but I'm just like, I mustered up the courage to be here today, and you are not who I want to be talking to. And so I was getting annoyed, and I didn't know who was helpful for me, and I didn't know where to look, and I felt like I'd leave these networking events unfulfilled. And so at my event, you come, you scan a QR code, and your match pops up. And so we created an app in which it links their Instagram, their website, and so you can look at and find the photo of the person. And there's color-coded corners, and so you know where to find your match. And so for me, I'm a camp counselor. I'm a theater kid. I love a little bit of organized fun. And the goal is that you leave knowing that this person was meant to talk to you. And then there's a whole schmoozing side at the second half. And so you can talk to whoever you want. Anything's welcome. And we throw them out at film festivals. And so even if you couldn't find your match specifically then, you have your whole weekend to really connect with that person. So we're going to be doing a whole lot more in 2026. And so I hope that everyone can come and hang.
I was so disappointed to miss at Sundance. I did one of the earlier iterations where you just matched us. We met up at a coffee shop. So I met up with a couple of people, but it was great. And I was like, how does like Talia doing this? She can't manually do this. So the algorithm makes sense.
A little bit of, or actually a lot of it of manual in a way that I'm like, maybe it should be less manual, but it's very manual, which is also a big thing that we get is people are like, it's a ticketed event. And so people are like, I don't want to pay a ticket. I'm like, my guys, I'm out here. I'm like thinking about who you are and who you should talk to. So it is a lot of manual labor while also mixed with an algorithm for ease.
I think also you said appropriately. I think it was like $45 for the ticket or something. And if someone really couldn't do it, you'd give them like a hardship code or something, or a way for other people could sponsor. So I think that completely makes sense. And you just rented out the space. Oh yeah, we ended up doing our film stack meetup because you had the space at Sundance. Yes. That's right. Thanks for that tip, by the way. We ended up using that space.
Oh, I'm so glad. Oh, I know. I'm bummed I can't make it. I'm trying to figure out Film Stack. I'm like a longtime listener, only a little bit of a caller. And so I'm really looking forward to getting more into the Film Stack space.
Well, it's like, how would you advise other filmmakers? Because this comes up a lot. I talked to a filmmaker earlier this week and she's like, hey, how do I engage in Substack? I'm like, some of these sites are very specific to the community. So there isn't a way, I'll speak for Film Stack and Substack, and Ami on our team really is the expert at it. It's hard to just like dive in and say, hey, everybody come to this event. You do participate in the community and you learn like the language and you learn the avenues. Well, it's similar to what you said on TikTok, you tap into sound bites on TikTok or Instagram to kind of get that going. So I guess, would you have any advice for filmmakers, whether they're seasoned and, 3 decades in and are trying to figure out how to use online communities, or they're just coming out of college or changing careers or paths like you did? What would your advice be for posting online or engaging in online communities?
I think my advice for coming in and becoming a part of the online community is to remember that you 100% have something to share and that no experience is like your experience. It often could feel like it might be, but truly people are so curious about your journey and the steps you're taking, because in the world that we are in right now, no two paths look the same. I think 10 years ago, there were some more conventional paths that you could take. You could start working your way up in the writer's room. You could go to your agencies. You could have an indie darling right off the bat. Film festivals were more of a lift than I think they are now. Right now, I feel like we're in the Wild West and everyone has to be their own cowboy, and your kind of tools for success, your arsenal is your phone. And so being able to document your journey. I also have a theory that online, my theory is that Instagram and TikTok are the new film festival, and that the fact that you are able to get as many eyeballs as possible through this is huge. For me, I think like sharing your work online is still so nerve-wracking that I'm really trying to get over. So in my mind, I'm like, okay, if Instagram and TikTok are a film festival, I'm the panel. I'm like a panel at the film festival. I need to be a screening one day, but right now I'm just a panel.
Oh, that's cool.
But you see people all the time, like Ari Aster became an executive producer from a 40-second short that someone posted online. We're seeing huge deals go down from creators. So it's like, I joke sometimes someone has that expression where it's like, why not you? And you're like, yeah, why not you? Like, you can do it. Just kind of do it. I think also you have to post like no one's watching, which is also why TikTok for me was a lot easier in the beginning, where like I didn't follow anyone I knew. I just kind of started posting. My degree is in acting and theater. And so I'm like, this was my dopamine outlet. I got it going. So I think just like, I'm not an expert and I don't pretend to be. And the truth is that no one actually needs to be paying attention to an expert right now. We just need to be paying attention to people who are doing it. And you doing it and helping document your journey is going to help someone under you and even someone above you pay attention. I just had a producer sign on. I don't know. I had a producer yesterday, had a call. I'm making my first feature right now. And I said that I was making my first feature. And I posted about what it was about. And this big producer slid into my DMs and said, hey, let's talk. And yesterday, after sending her the outline, she was like, this is awesome. Keep us posted. Like, we're in. So it's like,
until you there's a saying like, just get started at the end of the day. If you overthink it, I struggle with this, like posting anything on Instagram, like my family's on there, my aunts are on there. Like if I start putting on this persona of talking about the work or something, like, is that going to feel authentic? I completely feel the same about TikTok. I'm like, I don't really know anybody over there. Maybe I can use that outlet. But I think you're totally right. It's just get started. And I think that's actually more, we hear a lot, just be authentic, but that's hard for people to understand. I think you said it perfectly. Like, be yourself. Post like nobody's watching.
Post like nobody's watching. And like, I agree, be authentic. But I think for me is I'm like, I don't know if you need to be authentic. I don't know. I'm more just like, whatever you need to do to post, just start posting and like pretend that no one's watching. And just like the thing that I get nervous about is building out loud, is because what if I don't finish that deadline that I set to myself? I said I want to make a feature this summer. What if I don't? Who cares? At least you're like trying towards something and failing rather than like not doing it at all.
Right, other than not trying at all. This has been amazing. So last couple things before we wrap up. How can someone sign up for a future Big Dig, or how can we find you online?
So follow us at Heavy Shovel Productions. We're on Substack. We're on Instagram. We're on TikTok. I think Instagram for me is the main place because that's where we do a lot of our job postings. And so if you're looking to get hired, or if you're an indie filmmaker, like literally looking to build community, follow us on Instagram. We're going to be throwing Big Digs in LA, in New York, I think in Miami also, and a few other places. And so follow us online there. And yeah.
Okay, cool. And then anything that we didn't get a chance to talk about that you want to make sure we talk about or share?
People are talking a lot about moving from URL to IRL. And I think the thing that I find the most interesting about in-person community is that it is the Wild West. And so there's a lot of different avenues towards decorum, and I think reaching out and towards connecting with people. And so I think that what's important to remember is that you always have to present with a question. And so I think when coming on and joining a creative community, whether you're asking that question in your videos, or you're sliding into someone's DMs, or you're figuring out what's next for yourself, you have to lead with a question in order to get people to kind of like be engaged, because people want to help and people want to know who you are. And so I think if you're able to always like stay curious, stay excited, and keep going, that's the way to build community.
That is perfect. Well, Talia, thank you so much for sharing your, I want to say honestly, wisdom. I feel like I'm like twice your age, I feel like, but still like wisdom you are bringing is
no, I'm older than I look. And I also think, and I feel like that question thing was a little confusing. I think the thing that I just really want people to take away with is that there are never too many creators. There are never too many voices in the room. There's always room for people. There's always projects, and lateral networking is going to get you 10 times further than anything else. That's my takeaway.
Perfectly said. Thank you so much, Talia.
Thank you.
And that's our episode. Thank you to our special guest, our producer and editor, Ron Pissarro, and you, the filmmakers, creators, marketers, and distributors that are dedicated to connecting audiences with great films.